What's happening, everybody? It's Sean with Reactions to the Classics. Today we got a reaction to Declan McKenna and his album, What Do You Think About the Car? Brought to us by a friend, longtime supporter, patron of the channel, and all-around great guy, Ian. Thank you, Ian. Appreciate you. Appreciate all the patrons who make this thing go. We wouldn't make it without you. Check out the Patreon link below, or the Patreon link on the Instagram if you'd like to support us in any way. It is much appreciated. Okay, I live in the United States. I've never even heard of Declan, but Ian says, this is another album that rescued my faith in new music, similar to Vampire Weekend's 2008 debut, which is fantastic, and I have a reaction to that up on the channel. This album came at a time when I was losing interest in new music. It surprised me because it was so solid and well-rounded, despite Declan just being a teenager. He stepped into the limelight when he won the 2015 Glastonbury Emerging Talent Competition and released this album in July 2017, and it did reasonably well, reaching number 11 in the UK, went to 8 in Scotland. And I found writing went on for 2 years from the time he was 15. Declan said there were a lot of changes, and I think you can hear that with some of the songs on the record. Quite a big part of the album is about change and being confused. He said the album is about me being playful and positive, about not necessarily happy topics. That's what I'm like as a character. I try not to be too distant from serious topics as well. The two go together. So all tracks are written by Declan. The last track is also Rostam from Vampire Weekend. He produced it and also co-wrote it. So let's jump into this thing before we do. The music will not be in this video, or the videos. There's a lot of videos in here, but they will be at a Vimeo link below. Click on that if you'd like to see the whole reaction. We'll, of course, start off with the album opener, Humongous. Ian says, fantastic video with some great visuals, but a solid glam rock inspired pop song. The up-tempo section at the end doesn't leave me satisfied, but otherwise a really great track that deserved to be the last single released from the album. Sadly, it didn't chart, but it did get 4.6 million views on YouTube, so what else matters, right? Probably a better indicator these days. Ian rates every one of the songs. He gives this an 8 out of 10. I found some stuff on a lot of this music. That's what's great when you got newer albums, right? I can find stuff that the artist said. So Declan told Billboard magazine, he said, Humongous is a bit reflective of the last couple of years of just seeing so much written about me, and actually just being like a teenager who finds it hard to take in a lot of criticism, but positivity as well. They both can be equally damaging. I thought that was really wise, right? And equally difficult to understand. And I think I've gotten to the point where I've started analyzing that and started understanding myself a little bit more. So Humongous sort of looks back on these 2 years, and yeah, it's a little bit melancholic despite the sort of powerful chorus type thing. It's a little bit emo. This was the last song I wrote for the record. Not to pick a favorite child, but I think this might be definitely a step in the right direction I'm heading in. I love big, powerful choruses that you can just scream, and I wanted this to be one of those. I remember writing it, just sat alone with my sister's guitar in complete euphoria, with only a chorus written and nothing else, just shouting the words, which are super vague, but just summed up all the confusion and frustration I've had the last years. I'm going to have the lyrics up as always. We're going to watch a ton of videos here. Be ready to be entertained. Thanks again, Ian. All right, Humongous. One of the most absurd videos I've ever seen in my life. And that, I don't even mean that in a disrespectful way. I don't think it's bad. I grew up on MTV, right? I remember when MTV debuted. That's how old I am. Just an absurd video. I think they just threw everything they had at it. The song itself, you know, I like the chorus, do you care? I'm big, humongous, enormous, and small, and it's not fair that I'm nothing and nobody's there. Do you care? I think about the thing of like, to you, your issues are humongous, but to others, they don't even care, right? They're little things, and so you kind of don't feel seen and don't feel worthy. But you know, it's crazy. He's this age, and I mean, I was struck when I saw him. He looks 12, and I don't even mean that in a disrespectful way. It's crazy. This guy has written all of these songs, man. But a good first offering. I am with Ian, and I don't think I'm influenced by the fact of what he said, but I think the ending of it, you don't need that upbeat. It didn't really fit in with the song. It's not bad, but let's go to the second track. By far the most streamed track. We got Brazil. Ian says this song got Declan a lot of exposure upon its release in 2015, and the video is charming. Remember, the album didn't come out until 2017, but he was collecting stuff to put on the album. Showing off the ridiculously young-looking Declan, I bet. And although it only reached 56 in the UK charts, it has since gone platinum in the UK. It later went viral on TikTok. Well, that's what matters nowadays. Pretty strong song about FIFA and football corruption. 8 out of 10 for him. And I found the song was written about the 2014 FIFA World Cup, the dismal poverty in the country, and the corruption surrounding Sepp Blatter and other FIFA officials, which I've watched an in-depth report on that, and that's insane. Declan was talking to Human. He said it was a bit of a weird one. I generally come up with the melodies and guitar riffs before I come up with any lyrics. So first I had this guitar riff that I really liked, and when I came up with the melody, but I didn't have any words for it. And it kind of just happened. I started hearing things about the FIFA World Cup and the corruption around it. I don't really know why or how it happened, but I ended up writing a song about it, and it turned out to be one that I recorded and released. I was just seeing all this stuff around, and like most songs, I was hearing so much about it that I really couldn't avoid writing about it. All Right, Brazil, where he's talking about Brazil and also about Sepp Blatter, some like exaggerations about him. But the chorus is very catchy. The guitar interplay on it, I like that a lot. And yes, Declan looks so young on here, but very well put together. Definitely an abstract video as well. Not quite as abstract as Humongous, but enjoyable and entertaining. Next up, we got the third track, The Kids Don't Want to Come Home. Ian says Declan manages to keep the quality going with the 5th single from the album. The song starts slightly discordantly, but soon gets going. A bit of an angry but optimistic tune. The video is longer than the album song and includes some opening and closing dialogue, which I think adds context. There's a minute of Declan talking to his siblings and the end of the album track, which is charming but eminently skippable. So I recommend watching the video, which of course we're going to do. It gives it a 7.5 out of 10. I should have mentioned on Humongous, that title of the album comes at the very start of the album. There's a little conversation on there, but it's not in the video, but just FYI. I found an interview with Mr. Jam. Declan talked about the themes behind the song. He said, it's generally about the frustrations of being a young person in the modern world. There's a lot of scary things going on that people are concerned about. It's about finding hope and looking towards the future. The song came together when I was in Paris around the time of the attacks, the Paris attacks, of course. And the day after, I kind of realized that I now felt the emotions that I was trying to put into this song, and it all became quite real for me. That kind of fear and frustration, but also a longing for change. And man, as I filmed this in May of 2023, we're still there, man. All right, The Kids Don't Want to Come Home. This is one where I don't know, it's hard to separate the song from the video, right? Because when I mean include the visual aspect of it, like this is by far my favorite of the first 3 songs, even though I know most others would probably have Brazil based on its popularity first and maybe Humongous right after it, or maybe 1 or 2 other tracks right in there. But it's just so good. I mean, the writing, I don't know what I want, if I'm completely honest. I guess I could start a war. I guess I could sleep on it. But hey, they're kids with guns. Your neighbors complain, but they don't know where they came from. I guess it's just bad advice for someone so upstanding. So maybe just ask them twice or be a bit demanding. And then the chorus, you don't know how to give love to anyone. You don't know how to pretend. You told your kids that they'd live long forever, but the kids don't want to come home again. No, the kids don't want to come home again. Haven't you got any shame? Haven't you got any morals? Teaching them how to aim, no sadness, no sorrow. So I could just wax philosophically on this forever. I'm not, don't worry. But I'm 51 years old, almost 52 years old, and my generation failed the younger people, miserably failed. Because I think this world is in a worse place than it was 20 years ago. And that's unfathomable to me after we had progress for all this time. Because I live in the United States, and we have people always talking about the good old days. The good old days in the United States were not the good old days. There was women were discriminated against, minorities were discriminated against. It was a horrible time. But certain people who look like me remember the good old days. It was not the good old days. And the world itself, and especially the country that I live in, the United States, is way worse than it was 20 years ago. And like I said, it's just unfathomable to me as I have a 27-year-old and a 16-year-old that it has come to this. But maybe that's why I identify with this so much. I'm not the kid in it, but I'm the adult who failed. But great choice to watch this video. Next up, we have Mind. Ian says, my least favorite song on the album, slower pace, but the narrative doesn't seem to go anywhere. But it's still fine. Listen to the album all the way through. I didn't get that urge to skip it at any point. But this is the closest. A 6 out of 10. Declan explains that the song recalls the happiest memories. It makes me think of my friend Maddie's party I went to on Halloween 2015 after playing a show at Oslo and Hackney. The song lyrically and artistically kind of reflects the confused mess of my 16-year-old self. And I also just wanted a song on the record where the record is essentially a guitar solo. All right, Mind. That one for me actually is a skip. I thought that was, for me, that's just a miss. Is this boring? It's not horrible. I don't like the arrangement of it. Right? I mean, Declan's not bad or anything on the vocal delivery. I do not like the arrangement of it at all. So it seemed to lumber on, even though it was only a little over 4 minutes long. So that's all right, man. Every song is not going to be a hit. Next up, we have Make Me Your Queen. Ian says, just when the album was on the ropes, the 5th track is another cracking song. Not bad vocal performance, 7.5 out of 10. Declan said, it was actually the second to the last one I made for the record. Both came around the same time. I recorded them in the same session, so they have a bit of continuity sonically and songwriting-wise. The influence is somewhere between George Harrison and ABBA. With Make Me Your Queen, I kind of wanted to make a post-truth era love anthem. an anti-love song to the political elite or something pretentious like that. I didn't really know what it was going to be, but it was parts of other different songs. And then I turned these country love song lyrics into something a bit sarcastic and a bit satirical, trying to not take myself too seriously with it, but it still touches on something a little bit serious and prominent. It was an interesting writing process. That one I wrote pretty much in an hour or two once I'd got all the ideas together. He also says in the relationship there is, quote, the assumption that one person is a king and they're possessing someone else because the queen is the second most important person. It has a subtext of being patronized with connotations surrounding the patriarchal society that we have. All right, pretty good track there, pretty good vocals, good songwriting as well. I know that I mean nothing to you, babe. I've tried my best to keep these thoughts away. Oh, I try to speak, but there's nothing left to say because I mean nothing to you, babe. I know that I mean nothing to you, dear. If I ever stop by, you're never here. And I don't mean blank. I know you made that clear because I mean nothing to you. So make me your queen, make me your queen. Good melody there. When he gets into that part, very well produced and arranged. So I like that one. Next up we have, I don't know if it's Isombard or Isombard. I've never seen that word before. It's the fourth single from the album with plenty of variation to keep you interested till the end. We'll have a bit of harpsichord, and the chorus gives us that in spades. Ian says he gives it 7.5 out of 10. Declan says the idea of this is basically about this right-wing Fox News type TV presenter trying to justify things like police brutality and xenophobia and using cases for backwards political gains, but completely fumbling over his words and not really knowing what he's talking about. It's also maybe me trying to rewrite next to, of course, God, America, I by E.E. Cummings, but as a pop song. This guy right here would not watch a second of Fox News. So let's go. Isombard, that's what I'm going with this. That's what I think he was singing. You know, some pretty clever lyrics here. I won't read them to you, but well, if you can't walk, then run, kind of like an opposite. If you can't run, then walk, which is Martin Luther King Jr. said. So kind of some nice plays on words here, but I liked it fine. It's not going to be one of my favorites. I like the chorus. That was my favorite part of it. Next up, we have I Am Everyone Else. A bit of a weaker song, Ian says, but still pleasant enough. He gives it a 6.5. Declan was talking to DIY Magazine, and he said this: it became to be about politicians in general pretending to represent the masses without actually doing it. One thing, we got some of that in the United States. Pretending that they had the same experiences as normal, everyday people when they're very far from it. He also said, it's kind of a weird one because the writing was really staggered. So that song for me was about kind of a bunch of different things at once, but it revolves around the theme that you can say whatever, you can do whatever, but no one understands everyone. And you can't pretend to do that. I think that is sort of vaguely what this song revolves around, even with lots of different things that happened at that time in my life. I Am Everyone Else. You can see from when I'm reading the lyrics, kind of what he described it, eventually being about kind of the politicians and that sort of stuff. It was okay for me. I'm kind of with Ian in there. Like it's definitely a weaker track on here. It's not bad. It's just some of the other ones stand out. Next up, we have Bethlehem. Ian says, a great video for this one. Nice little storytelling song. A sparser, more unproduced song to start. The third single from the album, a cracker. He gives it 8 out of 10. Declan told Teen Vogue, having been raised like a Catholic, I have sort of a sympathy for religion. And then I think that religion's religion. It can be bad or good. People can take it however they want. My parents, for example, aren't as negative or oppressive as certain strands of Christianity and other religions are. I wanted to write about just the negative stuff because there's a lot of it has come out of religion. And I can tell you this, as a Christian, the people who I see who have the hardest time with the Christian faith are people that were raised in oppressive Christian churches or oppressive Christian homes, which is not what the Bible calls for, but they're way harder to reach than people who don't know anything about Christianity. And I get that, man. Like, religion has been taken from the beginning of time and turned into something that it was never intended to be, right? It's about power, money, control. Probably the reason why I haven't attended a church regularly for 4 years, because I see all those things in it. Bethlehem. I mean, I think I'm probably going to be influenced by this video on the song itself too, because the video is fantastic. It tells a great story of the hypocrisy that some find in religion, where they're perfect on Sundays. I mean, we got the snake up there. We got the charismatic, highly charismatic church with the snake up there. Everyone, burning books, which reminds me of what's going on here in the United States right now, at least in my city, where we're trying to remove all these books from the school libraries. And especially like we can argue on elementary and middle school, but I mean, the high school library, let's just take that. and like you're removing books that you find could be offensive. It's like, think these kids don't have phones, that they couldn't get something 1 million times worse that quick? I mean, come on, man. You cannot legislate morality. While you must protect younger people from things that they don't need to be, they're not mature enough to understand, you cannot legislate morality. So anyway, I totally identify with this and see, you know, the places where I was most uncomfortable. I didn't become a Christian until I was 29. And the places I was most uncomfortable in were, you know, judgmental people who wanted to tell me how it had to be done. There's a difference in guidance or teaching and just judgmental. So I identify with this song. I think it's really, really good. All right, I forgot to change it to Bethlehem, guys, but I did remember to change it down below for Why Do You Feel So Down? Ian says this video to this, the 7th single from the album, is just so ridiculous it makes me laugh out loud. Okay, so is it going to be more ridiculous than Humongous, I wonder? Wonderful, pretty good song too. Definitely lifted by the Mad Breakfast TV style video. Those grins stare into your soul, 7.5 out of 10. And the album's fanzine, Declan said this about the song. I really don't know where the whole sparkly slacker pop thing came from, but it happened. I think it's because the whole song is kind of jokey, making fun of myself and a lot of other things. So it came out of an almost piss-take dance tune, but it's also a bit sad, LOL. It's a lot of things. I think I was just 16 when I started on this one. I was a confused baby. Why do you feel so down? So Declan's talking to this person who's feeling down, and he's really just keeps asking him the same question over and over. So we don't know if he really cares about him or not. But, you know, the chorus, don't lie to me. I know I'm not as cool as I'd like to be, but why do you feel so down? Again, I know I'm not a very good friend, but why do you feel so down? Sure, that's not something I'd stick around for. Why do you feel so down? So he just keeps repeating this thing. So kind of clever. And the video is very clever. And at the bottom, it has the lyrics. And then, you know, it will every once in a while have something else. And you smile, show your teeth, those different things. But, you know, that chipper early morning, and I'm not a morning person, so it's always a little envious of these people that are just get up and they're ready to go. If you're one of those persons, more power to you. One of those people, more power to you. But at 1 a.m., I will be what you are at 7 a.m. Usually that's just always the way I've been all of my life. But a pretty good song and very catchy. All right, this song is supposed to be great. I've been dreading trying to pronounce it. Paracetamol. We'll go with that. I don't know how else it would be, but it probably is different. The highlight of the album, almost a 10. Ian says, no, actually I listened again, and damn, it's a 10. And Ian does not give out 10. Some people give out 10s a lot. If you do, great for you. He does not. I definitely do not. He says, another great video to the second single from the album. Sensitive topic and beautiful song structure. This is one of my favorite songs to cover on guitar, and Declan's vocal range is just about possible. Love the keyboard backing instrumental to the chorus. Yes, a 10 out of 10. And I found it was written after learning about the suicide of transgender teen Leila Alcorn and the media's representation of LGBT communities in general. In an interview with The Guardian, Declan said, it was a disgusting story. Not only must it have been a truly horrific experience for Leila, but knowing that it wasn't an isolated case generally terrified me. So I wrote this song without really noticing it at first from the perspective of this ambiguous, authoritative figure talking about somebody they are oppressing in sort of a disconnected tabloid speak. It's not written specifically about Leila's case, but about sections of the media's representation of LGBT communities in general. On the odd occasion they are represented, the media tends to handle it so horribly that the cumulative effect is that their readers, quite understandably, just don't quite get it either. Paracetamol. I got it right now because I heard him say it so much. Really well done video, really well done song. Very powerful lyrics. There's a boy 15 with a gun in his hand. That's how it starts, right? The people with no audience say he should be hanged. And they ask him for his motive, but they don't understand why they love like they do. There's a girl 15 with her head in a noose because she's damned to live while she's damned to choose. Yeah, just man. Anyway, yeah, that's a very powerful song. I mean, just a very powerful song. All right, to the final track on the album, Listen to Your Friends. This is one that Rostam from Vampire Weekend co-produced and co-wrote. Ian says Declan's strongest vocals open the track with some subtle orchestration before a plonky, happy, clappy, sing-along type of song emerges, then heads into a little twist towards the end with a dialogue section, which makes me smile. Great ending to the album. He gives it an 8.5. All right, Listen to Your Friends. Really well done video. He's wearing the shirt Make Me Your Queen, right? A little throwback to a previous track. And there's vocals, probably the best vocals on here. I would agree with that. And yeah, Yeah, man, just well done. I like the diversity in the song itself, starting out, quieter with some strings and some different things. So, yeah, definitely like that. It was a good way to finish the album. It was strong, good sequencing. All right, now I'm going to get to my favorite tracks. All right, honorable mentions: Humongous, Brazil, Make Me Your Queen, Faves. I got to say it again. Paracetamol. I know I said it wrong. When he kept singing it, I had it. This last track, Listen to Your Friends, Bethlehem. My favorite is actually The Kids Don't Want to Come Home. I think it's such a powerful video, a powerful song. Before we get to my overall score, I'll give you Ian's final thoughts. He says, Declan isn't the best singer in the world, but he uses his voice well in his indie, Bowie, glam rock style. The album isn't as well produced as his second album, Zeros, which went to number 2 in 2020, but is a much better, in my opinion. There are more solid songs, and it isn't trying too hard. The second album feels rushed to me. Still worth a listen because his vocal technique has improved. And a lot of times the second album's a sophomore slump or real things, right? Because they got to hurry up and make that second album after the first one. They got forever to make that first album, although Declan was very young when he made it. You get the point. He says this album had 9 singles released, which is insane, right? And in my view, every one of them was deserving of this treatment. A great debut album, doesn't pretend to be some fancy concept, just a collection of great songs and some very creative videos to support the singles. I will agree with that. Feels so weird to listen to music made by someone 30 years younger than me, love it, and be just as into it as something I listened to as a teenager. I had to set aside my cynicism and experience to appreciate something new, creative, and beautiful. Let's hope the third album is as good. He gives it an 8 out of 10, which obviously he brought it. He's got history with it. It was special to him. We talked about it in the introduction. When you are attached to an album from a time and place and it makes you feel a certain way in that time, you are naturally going to love that album. I'm not going to be as high on this album because it'd be weird if I was, honestly, because I don't have that emotional attachment. This is first listen. But I think it's a good album, man. And I think the videos are very creative and shows, for someone this young to write these songs, it's pretty amazing. So I'm going to be at a 7 out of 10 on first listen. But let me know what you think of this below. Should I go listen to Zeros? And I wonder when his next album is coming out. It's about time, right? And until next time, guys, I will see you.